in the UK recently, a man was convicted of raping a woman twice after he told her, they met online, they started dating. He told her that he had had a vasectomy, so they had unprotected sex twice. The relationship ended up ending. And then later on, the lady found out she was pregnant. Upon contacting the gentleman, and I use the term loosely, and asking him, what's going on? I'm pregnant. He informed her that, yes, in fact, he had not had a vasectomy. So she was angry about this, okay? She ended up having an abortion. She was angry. She was distraught. She was emotional. She felt betrayed. I mean, we all feel betrayed. Obviously, the relationship ended prior to this anyway, so you can imagine how complicated this is. Anyway, this guy's getting minimum 10 years for this. Hai capito? So why is this a big deal? Because of where it falls under, more than anything, is that it falls under rape. Okay, it's called rape by deception. So it's under rape. It's the same thing as rape. Why is it the same thing? Because it's about negating consent. We have also in the United States a pretty vague description of what consent is. And under the consent laws in the UK, someone has to be able to make an informed decision of consent. And consent can also be revoked at any point. But what I'm saying is that if he has misrepresented or lied about himself in any way that would preclude a way that she would not have consented, then kaboom, then it is rape. Why is this a big deal? Because recently in Massachusetts and New York, laws have been proposed to expand the consent to include rape by deception. Also in California, they already passed some laws similar to this, including this. So when it comes to this, I see this happening here just because of the movement, the Me Too situation, feminism, everything going on. And I feel like, it's a little dangerous. It's a little dangerous how things are going over there. And I want to talk about different cases that have happened so far and see what you guys think. Get a little debate going. Hopefully some ladies will partake too. I am open to ideas. I do want to discuss it, but I do have some questions and some issues with how this was, presented. Also, another case, they had a husband who was recently charged with rape by deception for sleeping with his wife. And it's silly to even say this. They used to use, in the UK, they say vacate. Withdraw. He failed to withdraw. Pull out in Americano. I capito. So he said to the wife, hey, okay, we'll have sex. I'll pull out. I promise. Because they didn't want any more kids. And he failed to do so. Now, he's not getting the minimum or whatever. They're still in sentencing process. But I thought this was outrageous. Because I think it takes away, devalues actual rape victims, first off. And in this case, okay, so we're talking about the negated consent. But let's be honest, the lady in the first case, she would have consented to sex with the guy either way. So it didn't negate consent. It just negated the fact that they didn't use a condom. So how is that rape? She said yes to sex. Even if he said, I'm fertile or whatever, they still would have had sex. They would have just used a condom. So how did he rape her twice? But let's just say, for argument's sake, this is how it went down. This is what happened. I kind of feel bad for the guy. I don't know if he was a douche, whatever. It is what it is. But it's a dangerous precedent because in the same token, they interviewed the prosecutors and people and talked. And obviously it was a lady prosecutor. And isn't this a dangerous precedent? Couldn't women be charged with the same thing? Because if they fail to disclose that they're not on birth control, or if they said that they were on birth control, or if they said that they had a hysterectomy or whatever, or that they just said they could not have children. Prosecutor says no, because it's not the same thing. Because a woman can lose her life during giving birth and has to carry the baby and carries a heavier burden than a man does, right? So it's just not the same thing, she says. This is an attorney. This is someone who works for the state. How can you be so biased not to see that you're being so biased? It's obviously going to be the same thing because it's not about the level of repercussions on someone. You could argue 18 years of child support, 25 years of child support is still a hell of a lot to deal with, whether or not your life is on the line. But with modern medicine, insomma, we're talking about not 20% of people aren't dying giving birth. But anyway, What I'm saying is that it's about consent, like they were arguing before. It's about consent, right? It reneges consent. So if that's what it's about, it's defining rape, this consent was not given because all the information wasn't there, or there was deception, right? Or alcohol, drugs, whatever it may be, which is normal. Alcohol, somebody's too drunk to consent. Yeah, okay, but someone lies to him, whatever. But anyway, what I'm saying is that a guy would have the same thing, right? It reneges consent. You wouldn't have consented to sex if she says that she wasn't on birth control, or didn't have a hysterectomy, or she was fertile. You wouldn't have had sex with her, or you would have had sex with a condom. So that consent issue is what I'm talking about. So it's just so strange to see someone who's supposed to be so smart. I don't have a law degree. I'm no philosopher, but I can put two and two together. If someone argues and it's about consent, like here's the thing: if she had not gotten pregnant, would it technically be the same charge, the same penalty? He raped her twice by deception, even if she hadn't gotten pregnant? Yes, because it was about consent, right? So whether or not something happened of it, it's about consent, is what I'm saying. Anyway, on to the next cases. We have half a dozen other cases where lesbian women, or bisexual women, whatever, that pretended to be men. So they dressed as men, seduced women online, met them, ended up having intercourse with them, either orally and in some cases using some type of device. Well, I shouldn't, because it's no laughing matter. But anyway, they use some sort of device. Then later, the lady find out that this is a woman, got offended, rape charge. Now, this is a little more serious. This is something, when we talk about deception, that's a little more serious. But here, they're trying to repeal the law so that it doesn't apply, because they're saying that, in these cases, we're going after people that are already vulnerable, that have identity issues. And so these are already people that are subjected to discrimination and have a tough life. And, we're going after these people. It's ridiculous. It's a whole nother thing to misrepresent your gender. But then they argue, well, those people actually really think that they're this and that. And I'm like, whatever, man. They got an excuse for everything that affects women. If it's guys going to jail, I swear nobody cares. I mean, there's, and I don't want to sound like I'm some sort of, radical, but there is a distinction with what someone will permit a man or expect a man to endure versus a woman. People have a lot more empathy and compassion towards women. It does. Nothing is going to affect, laws are not going to change if they affect a couple of dudes until, like we would have never had the draft if we were drafting women too in the military, like things like that. So because it was women going to jail over, perpetrating offenses of the other women, now it's a big discussion. Well, see, here's the issue with this whole concept. And the reason I'm talking about it, and I'm in the U.S., is because it was proposed in Massachusetts and New Jersey, is that where do we draw the line when it comes to judgment, personal responsibility for who you sleep with? Nobody's forcing you to be promiscuous, to sleep with someone that you met online on the first day or within a week. Okay, when I buy property, I have to do my own due diligence. If I buy a home, cash, boom, buy the place, and I find a leak, it's not the seller's responsibility anymore. I signed a release. It's buyer beware. When you're going in and purchasing real estate, you don't have a lot of fallback. You hire somebody to help you, but it's expected that Same thing in business and stuff like there's some level of accountability. And in this culture where we're constantly saying women are equal, well, why are we treating women like they don't have good judgment? Like they're easily, come si dice, insomma, cazzo, that they're easily fooled, easily brainwashed, always victimized. And women can't possibly want sex just for the pleasure of sex. Women can't possibly be vindictive. Women can't possibly lie. When we know that this happens all the time, we're only human. Nobody is perfect. And we all have times where we're upset. Hai capito? Now they're trying to do where if you're a married man and you present yourself as single and sleep with a woman, and she finds out, because there was this whole thing about this woman talking about that, she tried to take a guy to court because, the lady tried to take a guy to court. Literally, they moved in together. The relationship didn't end up working out, and she was mad and wanted to do rape by deception because he apparently wasn't committed to the relationship. In another case, the guy was married but presented himself as single. Some people even agree with this. And I'm like, listen, here, we even took away no-fault divorce because women were cheating on their husbands, but they still wanted to get alimony. So if you want to do something, bring it back civilly, bring it back in the court where actually if someone, breaks their marriage vows with adultery, they lose some sort of right. They can't take half the shit, right? That would be a first step. Now we want to criminalize it like we're not putting enough people in jail. I don't agree with people. I think it's shitty for someone to present themselves and say, hey, I'm single if you're married and have a family. It is shitty. But should we give the power to the government and the police to be the personal enforcers of every lonely, broken heart person that wants to get revenge on someone because they feel, they feel deceived? I mean, in the end, you got to take responsibility. Look, you literally could say that makeup, surgical augmentations, and things like this could negate consent. I mean, we've all woken up the next morning and seen somebody and be like, oi, if I had seen you like this, I wouldn't have, you know what I mean? And guys, automatically you just take that as a responsibility. It is what it is. You feel a little deceived, but you're not, there's no protection. It is what it is. So I don't understand where we're going with this. And I think it is a dangerous territory because in my mind, like all things, I feel like the main targets are going to be men. The ones that really suffer are going to be men. And I'm not saying that all guys are angels, obviously. I think the biggest issue we have is not being able to put ourselves in each other's shoes as men and women and realize that we have, issues that affects us. But a lot of feminists think that men just have this easy life when it's not. You're always constantly seen as a threat. You get more time for the same crime. There's tons of things. You have a shorter life. You have a shorter life, for the love of Christ. And we're just piling on these things. Like, we're the only ones going around deceiving people, So watch out. I guess, the first thing, don't lie to chicks, And I try not to, It doesn't affect me. I'm done with that whole scene. So I just think about the future, And it's funny when you get a certain age and you've gone through a couple decades and you can see the shift in how people think. And it's important not to fear change, but you can be critical of it and you can see that things are not always going to be fair. They weren't fair before, and they should at least be addressed. And I feel like a lot of times we can't even address these issues because there's such you're a dude, you have it easy, can't even talk about it. And it's like, let's talk about it. The answer is always like, there's not, false rape allegations, it's no big deal. It's not enough. There's not enough to really affect. Who cares, Or, these people going to jail and stuff. It's the price you pay. And it's like a sacrifice. It's okay to sacrifice the lives of innocent men. But if we were talking about innocent women going to jail, I don't know. You wouldn't hear the end of it. Anyway, I hope we can start a discussion here. What do you guys think? There's a lot to expand on this topic, but I don't want to make the video too long. I see this infecting the United States with the media and how things are, and I see this becoming prevalent here, and I think it could be dangerous for men and for women. Marriage rate could go down. It could be harder to meet people. It could cause more fear. It could cause more resentment between the sexes. It's nothing good going to come from expanding this, and then saying, well, it's like this, it's like that. It's like, how do you even prove that? Like the one with the husband, right, who failed to. How do you even prove he did that on purpose? It's not like, not everybody, can do that every time, Like, I don't see, it's not a science. It's not a science to pull out, to be honest. And I don't see why somebody would be that incentivized not to pull out. It's not necessarily that much fun not to, I mean, I'm a visual person. I don't even know. Now we're getting into disgusting stuff. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think. Do some comments. Maybe we can start a discussion. I'll try to answer any questions or anything anyone says. Thank you guys. As always, buy red and sell green. Thank you.